All right, guys, welcome back to another video. Let's just jump right into it. We got February's first slate of Xbox Game Pass games announced. You can see the picture up here. There are 7 games that are coming over to the service. For me, on this slate of games, there's 2 that I'm actually interested in playing and 1 that I've already played some of, but I'm not the biggest fan of, so I won't check it out. But there's 2 games here that look pretty cool. So the first one here is Train Sim World 4. This is coming to cloud console and PC on February 7th. Then we have Madden NFL 24 coming February 8th to console and PC. I used to love Madden back in the day, but I feel like since the OG Xbox days, they've really just completely fallen off when it started with the 360. Honestly, Madden 08 is probably the last good Madden game in my opinion, and that came out on both the OG Xbox and I believe also the Xbox 360. So it's been so long that I just don't really care for the Madden series anymore. It's the same stuff over and over again, and they just don't fix things that should be easy to fix, and they've kind of totally just destroyed and abandoned the dynasty mode within that game. Yes, I know they've made improvements over the last couple of years, but it's nowhere near. If you haven't ever played the older Madden games on an Xbox, a GameCube, or a PlayStation 2, go play those and just go to the dynasty mode, the franchise mode, whatever you want to call it, and tell me what you see compared to what you're seeing now in Madden. Because people, for some reason, still argue me on that. But anyways, Resident Evil 3, this one I'm actually very excited to play. I've played the Resident Evil 2 remake. I've played Resident Evil 4 remake, and both phenomenal games. Both some of my favorite games. So Resident Evil 3, the remake here is coming to cloud console and PC on February 13th. Then we have Bloodstained Ritual of the Night coming to cloud console and PC on February 14th. And again, another game I'm very excited for because I played this when it first released on the Nintendo Switch. I was actually one of the original backers for that game. It's from Koji Igarashi, who's known for Castlevania, came out with the spiritual successor to the game, and it is a really good game. So definitely check that one out if you haven't checked it out yet. Then there is A Little to the Left, February 15th, coming to cloud console and PC, which is a puzzle game. Not too interested in that. Played Up, cloud console and PC, February 15th. And this is a cooking roguelite game. So who knows how this one is going to end up and if people will end up enjoying it. But hey, maybe we'll check this one out, but I'm not sure. And then Return to Grace coming cloud console and PC on February 20th. And this is a first-person narrative adventure game in the 60s in a retro sci-fi world. It says here, a daring space archaeologist has just unearthed the ancient resting place for a long-lost AI god known as Grace. Adventure with various fractured AI personalities as you uncover the great mystery of why she was shut down all those years ago. And then they go down here, and just a reminder again, MLB The Show 24 is coming to Game Pass again, which as you know is a first-party PlayStation game making its way onto the Xbox platform and is also out on the Nintendo Switch now. But dropping day one into Game Pass, it's always something that it kind of blows my mind every single year when we get that announcement, because it's the 3rd year in a row, I believe, that MLB The Show is dropping day and date into Game Pass. Why is it not dropping day and date into PlayStation Plus? It absolutely should be if it is going on to the competitor's subscription service. So some cool games here, and we will see what happens in the second half of the month going forward. All right, let's talk about Avowed, because Avowed, they've shown off lots of gameplay for this game, and I would say this is probably one of the most anticipated Xbox games this year. At the Developer Direct, this was the game that I was most excited for out of everything that they did show off, even more excited for this than Indiana Jones. And one of the things in those trailers that I think was somewhat noticeable is probably one of the things I could say should be criticized for this game, so they definitely improve it. The combat I thought looked okay, looked fun, but there was something missing from that combat. Not sure what it was, but now we know even Obsidian knows that there was something missing from the combat, and the trailer that we did see was actually weeks behind to the current version, and they're actually working on improving the combat, the impact of the combat specifically. This comes via Carrie Patel, who spoke with the Dropped Frames podcast, and she discussed this. She says, one of the heartening things has been seeing fans call out some of the things that we are actively working on, like the sense of hitting and impacts as you're attacking enemies. It's like, yep, what you all saw was still a few weeks behind where we were even when that footage was released, just because of the nature of the way these things are put together and the team's been working on it. So, I mean, that makes complete sense. When we do see trailers of games especially at these smaller showcases where they're highlighting these games, these studios have to take a fair amount of resources away from the development of the game and put it towards creating a trailer. We've heard that that's always been something that sometimes these studios don't actually enjoy doing because it's taking away from, I guess, more productive things, which would be improving on the game and getting it ready to launch. So they're taking footage of gameplay that they've captured far before the current state of the game to put it out 4 months later. So obviously, when you're seeing this stuff, it isn't going to be what the developers are currently playing with in the studio. It looks really good. And the developer direct overview didn't do it justice. There was another deeper dive overview of Avowed that I highly recommend you going to watch, where they go way deeper into the mechanics of the game, the worlds, the traversal, talk about things like being able to find hidden paths depending on the type of magic you have. And it just looks really, really good. I'm excited for this one, and probably the game I'll be playing the most here from Xbox's first party releases this year. Okay, let's jump over here. Let's talk about Square Enix, because as we know, the Xbox rumors are going crazy. I don't even really want to talk too much more about the Xbox rumors until Xbox does come out and says something, because it's just nonstop with people coming up with new things left and right and center. And I'm realizing this live as everybody goes through this, that this is probably one of the biggest stories ever in video games, depending on what happens. But there may not even be anything crazy that happens. It may not even be a huge change when Phil does come out, but the rumors are just so insane that you don't know what's true. You don't know what isn't true. And I did my best in yesterday's video to kind of put everything together in a more summary as to what the rumors that make the most sense are, and then take that for what you will. Definitely take all that with a grain of salt. But why I'm talking about this right now is because what is happening across the industry is just a huge change. It's a huge transformation from big publishers and studios realizing they need to change the way that they do things. They need to increase their profit margins, and they need to be more focused on gaming, creating quality games that people will want to play so they can make tons of sales and just make more money off of each one of these games that they do put out. And the reason I think this is happening, this is just my opinion, is because over the pandemic, a lot of these studios went for the money. They expanded out way too fast. They tried a bunch of different things because people were consuming a lot more. They were obviously chasing the market trends. And now we're at a time where that's shrinking. People aren't consuming as much as they were previously. We're in harder economic times. People aren't buying as much games. They aren't buying as much products. So what's happening? These studios have to cut back, and they have to be more focused on creating a less amount of games and making sure that those games do very well. And this is exactly what Square Enix is talking about, what they are going to be doing going forward. So this is via Bloomberg, and Square Enix's president Takahashi Kiryu, who made an announcement at the company's financial results briefing on Monday, saying that they are reviewing from scratch what the organizational structure is and what the best way is to implement the contents of the pipeline. They also reportedly said that the new structure would be detailed more in the spring, but according to a number of securities analysts cited by Bloomberg who are present on the call, the new structure will reportedly be in operation from April. And the publisher is reportedly keen to reduce the amount of development it outsources to external studios and wants to focus on in-house development for its more high-profile titles, with the aim being to increase both quality and profit margins. And that's it right there. That just tells you everything that you need to know. I mean, they're not going to come out and say, we want to just make games that are going to sell and that's it. They're going to say things like, we want to increase quality, because, I mean, they're going to try to make really high quality games. Square Enix does make high quality games. But what the main thing here is increasing their profit margin, which what they're saying, in my opinion, again, just my opinion, between the lines, is they're going to be going with more safe bets to make sure that these safe bets are as high quality as possible, so they get reviewed well and that a lot of people get hyped about it, and it'll increase those profit margins, like more Final Fantasies and stuff. Although when it comes to Square Enix, one of the things you could argue that's been holding it back in terms of its sales and its profit margins is all of these deals they've been making to lock games, at least timed exclusively to consoles like the PlayStation 5, rather than putting their games on every device available, which it brings us back to the Xbox rumors. It's clearly what Xbox is trying to do. So the entire industry is changing, and we will see more changes like this. Like I've said in my stream on Sunday, I believe, yes, maybe Xbox is going to come out with a new strategy, but it's not only going to be them over the next number of years. Like, we are seeing PlayStation put their games on PC. I do believe, I've said this isn't just because of the Xbox rumors. If someone wants to go back and find all of the clips, I've said this over the last long time. I don't know when I started saying it, but a long time. I think PlayStation is going to be releasing their games day and date on PC in the future to expand out how many people can actually play their games. Why do you think PlayStation is doing all these remasters and remakes? The reasoning is because they know that they're cheaper to develop and they're going to sell very easily because they're very strong IPs and they have a lot of fans behind them. So the industry is changing, and this is just another example of it with Square Enix wanting to be more focused, wanting to slow down on outsourcing and making sure that everything they put out is a sure bet and it will increase their profit margins. All right. And let's just jump over here to the Nintendo Switch, because we always like to look at Xbox and PlayStation, but then you have the golden child of gaming. Let's be honest here. Nintendo, the Switch. That thing is insane how well it's doing. In fact, the Switch is now becoming the best-selling console of all time in Japan. Well, it is the best-selling console in Japan, and they say it's now 15 million units away from being the global all-time best-selling system ever, beating the PS2. PS2 was insane how well that did. The Nintendo Switch is most likely going to beat the PS2. And this starts to make me think maybe they haven't announced or put out the Nintendo Switch 2 yet, because they see these numbers, and internally, if they can beat the PS2 and be the best selling console of all time, they are going to do that. So I will be surprised, honestly, if they do too much to build up hype for another console until they do beat the PlayStation 2. But at the same time, I just want them to announce the Switch 2 because I am looking forward to it. So it says here that following the release of the Nintendo's financial results, which put the console at 33.34 million lifetime sales in that region, the Switch has now overtaken the Nintendo DS family of handhelds as the best-selling console in Japan. And they say here, while it's now Nintendo's top-selling system in Japan, the Switch will still have to sell around 15 million more units to overtake the Nintendo DS as its best-selling machine worldwide. In doing so, it would also be within touching distance of the PlayStation 2's global record of 155 million. In fact, they are forecasting that it will reach 141.12 million Switch units sold by March of this year, and they have to get to 155 or over 155 to be able to beat the PS2. So we'll see if they can hit that mark, if they can actually get up to that 155. I have a feeling they can. I really, really do, because the thing is still selling. Obviously, sales have slowed down. I mean, that's it released in 2017, but they're still doing very well. And every time they release a new game, like you have the Peach game coming out, they just released Super Mario RPG. Like, there is still stuff coming out for the Nintendo Switch that is going to push units. People will buy it for just certain Nintendo games. And why I think Nintendo is in such a unique position in this entire insane shift and pivot in the market is because their games, you just look at them, right? They're awesome. I like them. So this isn't a shot against them. I think it's phenomenal what they can do with the hardware that they are on, and they don't have to have all these crazy graphics. But their games, I would believe, cost far less to develop than the major AAA games coming out of Xbox and PlayStation. So their profit margins are probably much better, and they have a much higher attach rate of systems to first-party games, way higher than Xbox and the PlayStation 5. So they're in a very, very unique position, and I don't see this slowing down, especially if Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, which they would be insane not to make it backwards compatible. They would be insane not to allow people to bring over all of the games that they've purchased onto the Nintendo Switch 2 because of how popular of a console it is. So you should see that as well. And I hope they make an announcement soon, and we will see when the Switch 2 does come out. But until then, they're going to continue to try to be the best-selling console of all time. And then finally, there is this rumor going around about Persona. So we know Persona 3 Reload just launched day and date as well into Xbox Game Pass, and it was selling very well on Amazon, being a top seller on Xbox, even though it did launch into Game Pass as well. So it's done very well on probably all platforms. But for Xbox, which previously never had any of these games, I think it's doing very well. But there is this rumor here that Persona 2 and Persona 4 remasters are in the works. Again, take this with a grain of salt. Persona 2 is a remaster, not a remake. Persona 2 Redemption will include both parts, as well as the new translation and quality of life changes. It's coming to all platforms, including the Switch 2, and the next gen Xbox, whatever that means. We're hearing about the rumors about the next gen Xbox coming in 2026, a hybrid console, but as well, they are going to be putting out just a regular console. That's the rumor. Potential Persona 4 remake is years away, they say. It hasn't entered production yet. And Persona 2 Remaster is a smaller undertaking, releasing either before Persona 6 or the year after. So this comes via Okami13 on X, and he sources this Twitter account here, which I don't know the track record of how well they are at their leaks or how well they get their information. So just keep that again in with a grain of salt. But Persona, they're coming back with remakes, and it's probably because they are seeing how well it's been doing with the Persona 3 Reload remake. But I will end the video there, guys. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.